Mountain.
The following is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Drivers, start your engines. Pull those belts down tight one more time, warm up those tires, hit your marks, and let's go racing, boys and girls. NASCAR, Indycar, Formula One, Formula E, and NHRA Racing Talk. This is the Championship Racing Network. Now here is your hosts, Steve West and Matt Nicholson, with producer John Myers.
Yeah, the gang is all here. We're back in studio. Very happy to be so after a week off out of the studio and just doing internet live, but that was fun too.
It was.
We appreciated you being a part of all that, and we had a good time with it. But again, kind of nice to be back in studio. And for the first time since very earlier this year, and I mean very early this year, we have no races to recap. But there is news. For example, got a shakeup at Ferrari, got the NASCAR 2002 National Motorsports Press Association Most Popular Driver Award winners, all three top series. Hey, is Goodyear continuing in NASCAR? What's Jamie Chadwick going to do? Three-time defending W Series champion. She's not going back to that series. And we got a book out that promises more in-depth, behind-the-scenes information than Netflix could ever hope to give on Formula One. All that and more coming up on this edition of the Championship Racing Network. Let's go ahead and get ourselves prepared here. Going to take ourselves a short break. We'll get this show up and lumbering under its own weight, as some people that I know have once said. And we'll start off with the Cup Series. Plenty of news to get to from NASCAR, including from NASCAR itself. They have signed themselves an extension of a deal that will keep them rolling for a little while. Let's just put it that way.
No pun intended.
We'll be right back on CRN.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. 4 tires and 2 cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Hey, welcome back into the show. Made it into December. Where the heck is this year gone? Good
question.
Almighty. I'm
Good
Steve West,
question.
Matt Nicholson, producer John Myers with you this morning here. And, well, let's start off with some NASCAR news, shall we? Maybe the biggest, and this could be arguable, but maybe the biggest news out of NASCAR, especially the Cup Series, might be Rick Ware Racing. We've talked about this. I mean, how long have we been talking about Rick Ware Racing being, well, a doormat?
Too long.
Maybe they're trying to improve their Cup Series fortunes.
That's a really, really, really big maybe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this might be a decent start, but then again, just about anything would have been. They formed a technical alliance with Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing for 2023. Reportedly, this is a multi-year deal. And part of this agreement has RWR leasing space on the grounds of the RFK headquarters in Concord, North Carolina. Roush Fenway Keselowski president Steve Newmark said, quote, at its core, it's a technical alliance with probably a twist. They didn't talk about the twist. Getting on our campus will have even closer interaction because of the proximity and the fact that both sides will be on the same campus and we will be talking.
I know what building they're going in.
Okay.
I know exactly which building they're going to go in.
Yeah, you've been on that campus.
When you go into RFK Racing and you're going into the main gate, right when you get in front of the main gate, there's a shop off to the left, like you're going into Concord Regional Airport.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you they're going into that shop.
Okay.
Because that's exactly the old shop that Petty used to be in before they went over to Mooresville.
Right.
Now they're back
to Chevrolet.
Somewhere. They're still in Mooresville, yeah.
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 I mean, it's a
GMS, excuse me.
technical alliance. What does that tell you that RFK is going to give to Rick Ware Racing? Technical alliance.
Technical alliance meaning, let's see, that will be help with setup stuff to improve their setups and their cars overall because everybody gets the same parts nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Go figure. That's really what the technical side of it is going to be because from the engine side of it, everybody at Ford gets the same engines.
Is this a situation where RFK might build some of the cars for Ware?
Possibly. But they left an alliance with Stuart Haas. They left an alliance with Stuart Haas.
I guess. Well, I mean, it's not like they were going onto the same grounds as SHR, so.
Yeah, and then, there was another alliance car that mysteriously disappeared from Stuart Haas, too.
That's true.
A little bit of foreshadowing there.
Mm-hmm.
Because you see that move, and plus you see this other move, you're going, what's going on there? They're just saying we're cutting our technical alliances off
Maybe.
and going straight for ourselves, or what?
Maybe.
Because the technical alliances obviously weren't paying off.
Well, and yeah. And you look at what Stuart Haas Racing did, no disrespect to Chase Briscoe and the 2 wins by Kevin Harvick, but otherwise it was really an underperforming season for all 4 cars of the SHR Cup level.
Very.
And, we were all expecting to see a little more out of Riley Herbst, and what we saw was, just like in 2021, Riley Herbst kind of improved as he went on throughout the course of the season, but still hasn't visited victory lane. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're looking at it and going, you know what, we need to concentrate on what we need to do on our inside right now because we're not up to our own standards.
Yeah, they got to do something.
Well, we might find out one of those since we're talking Stuart Haas Racing. We've already talked about this. Kevin Harvick said he's not going to be back after his contract ends at Stuart Haas Racing, which has the 1 more year left of 2023. But the question is does he continue racing after that? Does he hang up the helmet? Turns out even Kevin Harvick doesn't know. He was talked to on Thursday at the NASCAR awards ceremony and said, quote, I don't have a clear answer on that right now. But he did seem to set his own deadline. Quote, I think as we get to Daytona, I know 100% that we will have a direction because I'm not going to start the season without knowing that direction just because of the fact that there's just a lot of layers to unfold and really go through and evaluate. And so we'll see. I think it go either way at this particular point. Either way is this. Now, Gene Haas said back in October, shortly after Harvick said that probably 2023 would be his last year in the 4 car, that he still wants to sign Harvick to a contract extension. But think about this. When 2023 begins, Harvick's going to be 47, so maybe his age might have a little something to do with it. Plus, he's got several interests outside of driving. These things include his budding management company. This is the same Kevin Harvick Incorporated that he used to have as a racing organization, but it's now been kind of repurposed. Plus, he's working closely with his 10-year-old son in his racing career. And let's face it, whenever Harvick's driving career is done, TV is going to come calling for him to join.
Oh, sure. I mean, every time that he's been on television, he's been exceptionally good.
Yeah. So, I mean, a TV deal is waiting for him for whenever he gets done. It's just going to be a matter of him deciding when he's done. He says he'll have the decision down by Daytona. What do you think he's going to do?
As well as Keelan's career is going, and that's the term I'm going to use, because on Kevin's social media, I think it was yesterday, around mid-afternoon, Keelan's running a Legends car at Old Dominion Raceway on a road course.
Hello.
Already. So me foreshadowing here, I'm going to call my shot at 8:12 a.m. on December the 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we're going to see Kevin Harvick in his swan song in 2023.
All right. And I have to admit, I don't disagree with that. I tend to think that that's probably going to be exactly the way that it's going to go. He'll get a TV deal of some sort. What it is, I don't know exactly. And, you know, we talked about this last week. Fox has said we're going to do one more year, at least, of Mike Joy and Clint Boyer in the booth with a rotation of another analyst in there.
Mm-hmm.
So it means, you know, Tony Stewart's going to be in there a little bit and blah, 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 blah. That to me tells me that they're in wait mode to see what Kevin Harvick's going to do, because most of the work that he's done,
Right.
no disrespect to NBC, has been with Fox.
Right.
So they're probably chomping at the bit to go ahead and sign Harvick to a contract and put him in the booth. It'll free him up a little bit. He doesn't have to spend quite as much time at the shop, obviously, when he's doing TV. This is a guy who knows what he's doing and knows what he's talking about when it comes to racing.
Sure.
That's going to be easy for him. He'll have to go in. He'll have to be in the pre-production meetings. But for the most part, he won't have to do anywhere near as much stuff during the week with Fox as he's had to do with SHR.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
That gives him more time to be able to concentrate on what Keelan's doing.
Right.
So that just, I got to admit, it makes a lot of sense, and I agree with you. I think probably this will be Harvick's last year. So that brings us into a situation where SHR is starting to go through their personality and how it's going to look further on down the line. Eric Almirola is on a one-year contract this coming year.
I thought it was 2.
Is it 2?
It's
okay.
2, yeah. I
Well,
think
either
it's
way,
2.
he's closer to being done than he's closer to a start.
Yeah.
So you got Almirola coming up. You got Harvick coming up. You've already made a change between Custer and Ryan Preece on that 41.
Mm-hmm.
Briscoe seems to be the only one right now that's locked in because we don't know what Preece is going to do.
True. Like you're saying, Stuart Haas is on the verge of playing seat roulette.
Sure. Now, a lot of free agency obviously happens every single year up at the Cup Series level, and truth be told, at the Xfinity Series level too. Riley Herbst hasn't made that step. We know that.
Not even close.
Cole Custer's back down in Xfinity for a reason. He needs to get his confidence back. It's been shaken. You can tell.
Very.
Hailie Deegan, we'll get back to this later.
Yet to be seen.
Yet to be seen what she's even going to do in 2023, much less 2024. But even if she does get an Xfinity Series ride in 2023, she'd have to go out and win 15 races and blow the field away in the championship run for me to think that she's anywhere close to Cup level ready. And I'm sorry, I'm not even sure she's Xfinity level ready, despite the fact that she did have a good run in a Stewart Haas Racing prepared SS Greenlight car in her one Xfinity Series run.
On that point, you got 2 key Ford drivers. Probably, I use that very loosely, probably hanging the shoes and the fire suit up as long with the helmet after this year.
Okay.
Harvick.
Yeah.
And even though Almirola's got the 2-year deal, he could probably say, I'm done at any time.
He might be able to, sure.
Who does Ford have in the pipeline?
How much?
My opinion, your top prospect is in trucks right now, not Xfinity.
And is he ready for Xfinity, much less Cup?
We're going to find out quick.
Mm-hmm. This may be a situation where, to cross-pollinate sports, this may be in a situation like what we're in right now in Major League Baseball. You're looking for the free agents, and you're going to find somebody. You might be lucky to find somebody maybe in their mid to late 20s who's on a short contract run out. In other words, their contract's going to run out after 2023, and you might be able to swoop in and get them. Maybe. But that may be the way that you're going to have to go. You might have to go with somebody in their early to mid 30s and sign them to a 3-4 year deal and maybe wait for that Ford performance pipeline to start moving up.
I'm just going to say it. I know of a Truck Series team right now that if Ford was to call on either one of the team leaders' phones, pretty sure they would flip real fast.
Okay.
You're building your pipeline up.
Sure.
Because, let me word this very carefully. They like their current setup with their current manufacturer. But I think there's more to be gotten from other manufacturers because certain current said manufacturer, I don't think they're getting all they want from the manufacturer.
I'm thinking that certain manufacturer may have a look of a bow tie when it comes to an emblem. Yeah. Chevrolet, and
I'm pretty sure, just like with college football recruiting, the right person comes to talk, flip.
Sure. And here's the thing, and this is no disrespect to Chevrolet. In fact, it's to Chevrolet's credit that the vast majority of the Truck Series teams want to run the Chevrolet Silverado in the Truck Series. It's to their credit because it's a good truck.
It is.
It has shown its ability to go out and win races and win manufacturers' titles. But that leads to you having a glut of Chevrolets in there, and unfortunately, certain teams are going to get the priorities, whereas other teams are going to kind of be left behind.
Yeah. And quite honestly, GMS wasn't all that impressive this year.
Well, there you go. So it'll be interesting to watch this. But this is also the flip side of something that we dealt with, I want to say it was just before you officially joined the show. And a person had asked me about this. When was NASCAR going to get a youth movement? Well, here's the thing. We've now undergone such the youth movement within NASCAR that the mid-40s now, as opposed to the 50s, for a lot of the Richard Petty, Darrell Waltrip, they were in their 50s. Dale Earnhardt Sr. would have been racing well into his 50s, I can guarantee you, before he retired if he hadn't been killed in the 2001 Daytona 500. Now we've got Gordon, Stewart, Earnhardt, and probably Harvick all retiring before they turn 50. Matt Kenseth did it. Carl Edwards did it as well.
Carl Edwards did it before he's 40.
So, we're talking about a situation where these drivers have retired much earlier than what we used to see, and that youth movement is in. And some of them are up there before they were really, truly prepared to be up there. We'll continue the conversation.
For more on the Championship Racing Network. 4 tires and 2 cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Hey, welcome back into the show with Steve West, Matt Nicholson, producer John Myers here on this Saturday. And we've been talking Stewart-Haas Racing, and we talked Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing with Rick Ware. I mean, you stop and think about it, and you mentioned it. This does seem to be a deal where, and I don't think it's necessarily teams fleeing Stewart-Haas Racing as much as probably Stewart-Haas Racing says, you know what, we got to concentrate on ourselves. We know what we got coming up, and we're in a transition mode right now. We almost lost Eric Almirola. We convinced him to come back for at least one more year. We know that Kevin Harvick says this will be his last year, but we're trying to sign him to an extension. But we're about to have to undergo some massive personnel changes. And on top of that, Cole Custer wasn't quite ready. We put him up a little bit too soon, so we had to make the transition. Now we're back to a 2-car Xfinity operation. We got a new kid in Ryan Preece, who, yeah, he has Cup Series experience, but it's been a while. So he's running a Cup car now. We're in a transition mode. So Rick Ware, sorry, but they go now to Roush Fenway Keselowski. And then another team that was kind of affiliated with him, now no longer even running Fords. Live Fast Motorsports, the team owned by former Cup Series driver Matt Tifft, along with B.J. McLeod and Joe Falk, they're moving from Ford to Chevrolet for the upcoming season. McLeod is the primary driver of the number 78, but that car has had other drivers along with it. Tifft said of this move, quote, "We're looking forward to racing for Chevrolet, the winningest manufacturer in NASCAR." Well, that's suck up. But we'll also get engine support from ECR Engines, Earnhardt Childress Racing Engines. We know our program is going to benefit from their technologies and power under the hood. Other than ECR Engines, he didn't state whether Live Fast would be working that close with Richard Childress Racing on the new Camaros, but it seems to be the logical step.
Ladies and gentlemen of the CRN congregation, here's your third RCR car next year.
De facto, yeah, if nothing else. I mean, and here's the thing, it may be much closer than that.
I won't be overly surprised. And term of the day is, I use that term loosely. If a few races here or there, you see Sheldon Creed make a start.
And, you know, McLeod has his own B.J. McLeod Motorsports in the Xfinity Series, and he has been, I'm not going to say absent as the owner, but it does seem like he spent a heck of a lot more time concentrating on the Cup Series ride than he did on his Xfinity Series team last year.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
With this connection here, I agree. It wouldn't shock me at all if RCR gives Creed and maybe some of his other drivers at the Xfinity Series level a chance to get their feet wet in the Cup Series by using this 78 car to do it.
I mean, last year you had the likes of, let's see, Andy Lally made some starts. Kyle Tilley made some starts. Josh Williams made starts in the car. It wasn't just set on McLeod. Several drivers drove that car.
Oh, yeah.
And now with it being that tie with RCR and ECR engines,
McLeod may be spending even less time in that car.
very possible.
And this
Very possible.
This could also be the tryout, because how long? Well, basically since the beginning of Spire Motorsports, and we talked about that 77 car, and when are they going to actually solidly say, this is the driver that's going to be in the 77? Because, and it doesn't matter what sport you're talking about, but everybody knows basically if you have two quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks.
Right.
If you've got 2, 3, 4, 5 drivers, you got no driver. Because you're putting all of the weight onto the crew chief to have to get into the communication mode with driver A, driver B, driver C, and how many more there are down the line. Mm-hmm. You know, Matt's the driver. I'll put myself in as a driver. I'll put John in as our crew chief on our mythical CRN car. I know for a fact Matt's got a different driving style than I do. And John, as the crew chief, has to be able to communicate driving styles with Matt and then turn around and adjust that for me. Welcome to Spire Motorsports.
Come on, man.
Welcome to Spire Motorsports. They have been in that 77 car for 7-8 years.
I was thinking more 4 or 5.
That was a little bit longer than that, but either way.
Yeah.
Minimum half a decade. And what has that 77 car done? And then you look at their 7 car, which they immediately installed Corey LaJoie as the full-time driver. And how many times have we seen Corey LaJoie get top 15s and top 10s?
Handful?
Which is how many more times than the 77?
Considerable.
The handful?
Yeah. A lot.
There's a lot to be said for having the crew chief and the driver paired. This could be tryout time.
Consistency.
This could be tryout time for that 78 car because Matt Tifft wants to be the next Justin Marks. He wants to be the next Tony Stewart. He wants to be the next Brad Keselowski. He wants to be the next successful driver turned owner.
His mind's in the right place. But you got a long way to go to catch Justin Marks.
And the first thing you got to do is you got to figure out what you're going to do with the driver. And I'm sorry, no disrespect to BJ McLeod, but BJ McLeod's not it.
Let BJ McLeod stay as the co-owner of the team. Put somebody in the car that's going to be consistent, develop the team. And if it was me, and you're going to have this tie-in with ECR, RCR, ACR, whoever, CR, let's call that.
Okay.
You move your stuff to Welcome, North Carolina, on the campus of RCR, because what did Colleague Racing do? They did that. Where is Colleague Racing at now? At the top of the Xfinity chain.
Mm-hmm. And doing pretty well for themselves in the Cup Series.
And climbing the Cup chain.
It would do well for Live Fast Motorsports to do that. I would agree.
Call me. You can hire me. Live fast.
We keep saying we're available for consultation.
Yeah.
Sports Business Journal reports a 22-year Army veteran turned businesswoman by the name of Phyllis Newhouse is looking at the possibilities of owning her own NASCAR team. Newhouse will be the first black woman who would be a majority, if not sole owner of a NASCAR operation. She's also the founder of an Atlanta-based company called cybersecurity company called Extreme Solutions. According to the report, she's looking at buying a percentage of an existing operation in the Cup Series or just outright trying to buy a charter from one of the smaller Cup teams and beginning her own team. Well, so far, she hasn't found anything she likes enough to make the purchase, but she continues to look at opportunities.
I like that line. Hasn't found anything that she likes enough. Smaller teams, you've only got 2 options, girl.
Yeah,
2.
That's it. Now, here's the thing, and there's 2 levels to this. I'm excited about it on one level because this continues to show that NASCAR's nowhere near dead, despite what all the people who would like to throw dirt on an empty grave would tell you. There are still people that are interested in getting in as owners. And she's not going to start at the lower levels. This could be a situation that might actually trip her up, because I think what Matt Cowlick did over at Cowlick Racing, I think what GMS did before they got into the partnership with Petty and created Petty GMS, is that they came in and they got their feet wet and they understood not only the positives but the negatives of what NASCAR was going to give you as you started to move up from trucks to Xfinity to Cup. It's what the drivers do as well. As an owner, it's a lot cheaper to own a truck than it is to own a Cup car. But you're going to go through the same pitfalls and pratfalls that you would find in the Cup Series because it is a nationwide traveling series. She's jumping in, both feet off of the high dive into the deep end.
Yeah, she's not jumping off the bow of the little small 40-foot ocean yacht. She's jumping off the top deck of the Royal Caribbean Carnival Cruise Line ship.
Yeah, the one that's got 18 stories above the water.
Yeah.
And then the roller coaster on the top level.
Yeah. But there's another thing I realized with this, too. If she gets in there, too, it's making more diversity.
Yeah.
Something that NASCAR lacks. Give me
That's
a break.
True. Yeah.
Give me a break.
I'm not even really worried about that. I only mentioned the fact that she would be the first black woman to be the majority because, yeah, she's breaking through a wall. I'll be honest with you. I got no problem with what color or what gender you are. And I look forward to the day when that never shows up in a report.
Amen to that. Because
because that means it's become the norm and we don't have to worry about it.
True. I'm pretty sure this guy over here would say the same thing if he was a car owner. If I'm a car owner and I'm looking for a driver, I don't care if I have to go to South America. I don't care if I have to go to Spain. I don't care if I have to go to Mexico. I don't care if I have to go to Japan, China, Indonesia, Australia. I don't care. If I have to go to the
I might not go to Russia.
No, I'm staying out of Russia.
Otherwise,
I don't care if I have to go to the Congo River to go to Nepal in the deepest pits of the forests of Africa.
hey, if they found a good driver on the dark side of the moon when they just went around it not that long ago, I'd be in.
If when you cinch that helmet down on your head, you fire the car up and you can drive, I don't care if you're one of those ethnicities. I don't care if you're I don't care what lifestyle you live. Let me word it that way. I don't care what you do. If you can drive, guess what? You're sitting in my seat.
Yeah. If you can put a helmet on and you can drive, I don't care if you identify as a non-binary dog. I couldn't care less. Can you drive my car?
If you can drive, here's your pen. Sign.
Yeah. Can you
Drive.
get me top 15s? Can you get me top 10s? Can you get me top 5s? Can you challenge for wins? That's the important thing to me as the owner. I couldn't care less about anything else. Doesn't matter.
Yep.
Doesn't matter at all.
Yep.
But hey, good luck to her. We'll find out.
Yeah, no doubt. For sure.
Thursday night, John, I think you might have predicted this, although your
Dun-dun-dun.
allegiance to Martin Truex Jr. is admirable. I think you understood, and this is a move that I can guarantee you I'll speak for Matt on this. It doesn't surprise Matt or myself.
Nope.
The guy who was named the Cup Series National Motorsports Press Association Most Popular Driver Award winner for the 5th straight season, ladies and gentlemen.
Clyde Elliott II.
Known as Chase. 5th straight year for him. It marks him as only the 5th driver to claim the award 5 or more times. He joins 8-time winners Richard Petty and Bobby Allison, 15-time winner Dale Earnhardt Jr., and 16-time winner, and oh, by the way, Chase's dad, Bill Elliott. This also, by the way, marks actually his 7th most popular driver award win. Chase racked up 2 during his Xfinity Series competition day, so congratulations once again to Chase. They didn't tell us the official results of the top 10. But if I were to guess, I would say Ross Chastain came in second.
Probably.
I mean, the
Probably
man came in very popular, and let's face it, what he did towards the end of the year with the whole Kyle Busch situation, sorry, that's going to make you a pretty popular dude.
Agreed.
So, again, they don't release that information to us, despite the fact that we're even members of the NMPA. We didn't get that. But, hey, either way, congratulations to Chase. Xfinity Series competition news, where JD Motorsports readying for their 2023 Xfinity Series season. They've announced their driver lineup. They got Bailey Curry and Brennan Poole back. And I say back because, well, Brennan Poole, he didn't spend the entire 2022 season with him, but he did drive for him. Curry comes back to the number 4, hoping to build upon his 5 top 15 finishes of 2022, his best finish last year, a 10th place result in New Hampshire. Poole joined the team late in the 2022 season. He took over the number 6 Camaro with 3 races left in the year, claimed a best of 14th at Homestead, Miami. He is now the full-time driver of the 6 car for 2023. And oh, by the way, still got plans for a 3rd car. That'll be the organization's number 0 car. Here's the thing for me. The team states they're seeking sponsorships and drivers at this time. I think they would like to have this team this car be a full-time ride, but you ain't got no sponsorships, you ain't got no drivers. Well, Matt, here's an opening for you. But at the same time, I'm not so certain we're going to see the 0 car full-time in 2023 based upon that.
I wouldn't care if John Myers was standing in front of me with a howitzer pointed at me. I wouldn't get in the 0 car. I've been past JD Motorsports shop in the open fields of Gaffney, South Carolina, and I mean that literally. Their shop is in an old warehouse.
Yeah.
In a cotton field.
Mm-hmm.
I'll pass. I will go drive Mike Harmon's car before I drive a Zero car.
Well, at least it's a full-time car.
Yep.
Again, this car, they may want to try and make it full-time, but what they should do is they should go out and they should concentrate on the 6 and the 4 car. Have the Zero car literally for just, I don't know, super speedway races or something like that, where you can actually go and find a driver who's just looking for a one-off ride at a Daytona, a Talladega, or now Atlanta. Still weird to say that.
Yeah.
And get themselves a little more experience. You know, maybe you could pull up a driver from the Truck Series, get a little bit of experience in Xfinity Series competition. Maybe there's an Xfinity Series driver who's not full-time who would like to be. This is a chance for them to showcase themselves. That's what this car is. This car is a select races car only. Super speedways, maybe road courses. Your average Martinsville, Bristol, Charlotte, Texas, I probably wouldn't even enter it.
Nope. Not at all.
Make it road courses and super speedways. We'll talk about the Xfinity Series NMPA Most Popular Driver Award winner, and we'll talk about Alpha Prime Racing. They've made up their mind on who's coming to drive for them. We'll talk the Truck Series. Only one bit of news from there. That would be the aforementioned NMPA Most Popular Driver Award winner. And when it comes to NASCAR, who are they rolling with? And yeah, I mean that literally. You're listening to CRN.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. Two tires only, and back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Welcome back in. Appreciate you joining us. Steve West, Matt Nicholson, producer John Myers with you on this December day. Christmas decorations are up.
Yep.
Haven't done any shopping.
Let's don't talk about that. My wife's listening.
Gotcha. Well, shopping is done for Alpha Prime Racing. Sage Karam and the team have come to terms on a deal. He will return to the team in 2023. He ran 9 races for them last year, claimed a top 5 at Daytona in August, best finish of the year. The 27-year-old Karam, also very well known to IndyCar fans, has 9 Indy 500 starts to his credit. This, again, will be a part-time role. His first race will come in the March Atlanta race. I would imagine he'll try and get into a couple of IndyCar races as well. We'll have to see what the rest of the year for Alpha Prime Racing holds because, well, again, this is that situation that we were just talking about. They're going to run multiple drivers. This is not going to be good for the long term of Alpha Prime. They need to figure out a driver and settle on that driver.
If it was me, but it's not, Sage is somebody I would sign and develop.
I can see that.
Because he's done admirable
Sure.
in his first starts that he's had.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they've been majority road courses, the ovals that he has ran, he's ran fairly admirable.
He's been able to hold his own. I'll give him that. Sage wouldn't be the worst guy that you could sign, Alpha Prime Racing.
No.
I get it. He's still got some IndyCar dreams, but I think NASCAR's probably where his future lies. I believe all three of us predicted this. 2022 Xfinity Series National Motorsports Press Association Most Popular Driver Award winner, Noah Gragson. We knew it wasn't going to be Ty Gibbs. By the way, Gragson, this is his last opportunity to get it because he is now a candidate for the honor in the Cup Series next year. He's leaving Junior Motorsports, heading up to Petty GMS Racing to take over the number 42. I'm sorry, Chase Elliott's there. You're going to have a hard time unseating Chase Elliott.
Yeah, you are. There's one bit of Xfinity things, news that I want to touch on, too.
Sure.
There was a clip that hit, I think it was Wednesday, somewhere around in there, something like that, that during the media availability for the champions of each series, there was, let me be careful with my words here. There was a reporter that asked a very, very, very ill-timed and, in my opinion, inappropriate question to ask Ty Gibbs about his dad.
Yeah.
Shame on you.
Agreed. Ty...
shame on you.
Complain about Ty as much as you want, and we have on this show. But I think Ty handled it probably about as well as he could. He said, I was concentrating on having won the title and looking forward to 2023 and working with my grandfather. I'm just, at this point in time, I'm not ready to talk about my father. And I can understand that. It's still very, very recent. He's only 19. And this is a very, very fresh wound and a very deep one as well. So, yeah, you got to give the man time. You really do. You got to give him time.
Let him have something positive to look at for a change.
Yeah.
Let him live in the moment. Let him live in the spotlight for that 48 hours, 72 hours, however long they was in Nashville doing the celebrations.
Yeah.
Let him live in that.
Because what happened at Phoenix, all in the span of, we'll say 12 hours. You think about it. That night, that Saturday evening, he's hoisting the Xfinity Series 2022 title winner's trophy. And 12 hours later, give or take, he finds out his father's dead. Highest of highs, lowest of lows. Give the man some room. Give the young man some room.
Yep.
Camping World Truck Series. I'd like to say I'm surprised by this, but I have to admit I'm really kind of not. Most popular driver from the fans and the National Motorsports Press Association vote. Well, it's going to be the last time as a Camping World Truck Series driver. And it's Hailie Deegan. Hailie Deegan ran the number 1 truck for DGR Crossley Racing, but she's out of that ride as she is signed as a Ford Performance driver. And DGR moves from Ford to Toyota to become Tricon Garage for 2023. Deegan did make her Xfinity Series debut in the 2022 season, but she's got no ride for 2023 at this time, trucks or Xfinity. Now, rumors do have her connected to maybe a third car with Stewart-Haas Racing, or maybe going to SS Greenlight Racing, which was the ride that she had in her Xfinity Series debut. But remember, that car was prepped by Stewart-Haas Racing. But again, those are rumors. And at this point in time, Stewart-Haas Racing doesn't seem inclined to make any announcements towards that. Mm-hmm. So we'll have to see what happens as we move on through the offseason and get closer and closer to Daytona. But that right now, Penske is not reviving their Xfinity operation, at least not yet. So that's out.
True.
Who else is left? Because there ain't a whole lot of Fords running in the Xfinity Series.
Unless somebody was to just out of nowhere start one. Yeah, he's right.
It's either SHR or SS Greenlight for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to see what happens. I'm sure she's in conversations, and she does have the built-in sponsor. Now, it's the same sponsor that Stewart-Haas Racing has with Riley Herbst. But hey, Monster Energy did Riley Herbst and Ty Gibbs and Haley Deegan.
And Kurt Busch.
And Kurt Busch. I think they could still handle doing Ty Gibbs at Cup.
Pretty sure they could.
Riley Herbst and Haley Deegan.
Pretty sure they could.
In fact, that's one less car that they got to worry about because they've combined one. To NASCAR, where NASCAR, and to nobody's surprise at all, the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company have come to terms on an extension of their deal, going to keep them as the exclusive tire for NASCAR's top 3 series, Cup, Xfinity, and Trucks. No details of the contract were released, so we don't know how many years this deal is for. But Goodyear has been a partner with NASCAR since 1954. Keep in mind, not all of those years have been exclusive, but they have been partnered with NASCAR since 1954. Under the current terms, Goodyear producing over 100,000 tires a year for the series to race on out of their Akron, Ohio facility. And I get it, there are still some people here in East Central Alabama, say up in the Gadsden area, who probably have a little bit of, well, I'm not going to say a little bit, probably a big scar because they did work for the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company then out of the Gadsden facility. Mm-hmm. Probably not overtly thrilled at this particular bit of news, but it's important to us, so we have to mention it. As noted, NASCAR readying their 75th anniversary celebration in 2023. We've already talked about the fact that they've got a lot of special things going on, including a brand new logo, where using the 3-color combination that they have, they've kind of shaped it into a little diamond look for the new year. Well, beginning the celebration, they'll actually begin it Sunday. Tomorrow, as most of you listen. Sunday on Fox, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central Time in Central Alabama. Check your own listings. They're going to air NASCAR Race Hub's 75 Years of Racing. It's an hour-long program. Caitlin Vincey's got the host duties. I'm sure that Shannon Spake has some NFL situation going on somewhere.
Oh, I'm sure.
Adam Alexander is going to be in there. Mike Joy's going to be there, and Josh Sims from Fox Sports, all going to be there hosting segments and moderating discussion panels with drivers from NASCAR's past and present, including the likes of Richard Petty, Jeff Gordon, Darrell Waltrip, Rusty Wallace, Joey Logano, Clint Boyer, Daniel Suarez, and Daniel Suarez. Let me get that right. And Bubba Wallace. You can expect segments on the history of NASCAR up to its present day. That obviously will feature Richard Petty, along with Jeff Gordon and Joey Logano. They're going to talk about some of the more historic moments of the sports. And I say sports, I'll go series in this particular case. Bubba Wallace and Daniel Suarez going to be with Josh Sims, going to look at sports barrier breakers like Wendell Scott and Bill Lester. Suarez is going to talk about himself and some of the other up-and-coming Mexican-born drivers and drivers from other countries who have found their way into or are looking to find their way into NASCAR at some level. Remember, we got Canada, the Pinty Series. We got NASCAR, the Mexico Series. We got the Whelen Euro Series for NASCAR. And beginning next year, officially, the NASCAR Brazil Series. Plus, you got the importance of Pitbull and Michael Jordan becoming owners in the sport. And then this one, which is what I got to admit, I'm really looking forward to this one. DW, Kyle Busch, Clint Boyer, Rusty Wallace, all on a panel talking about the history of the sport's renegades, or the bad boys. Drivers like Dale Earnhardt, DW himself, Kyle Busch himself, some of the other guys who were involved in some of the bigger and, in some case, most bitter rivalries. This will be the last official NASCAR Race Hub of 2022. But for New Year's Day, if you're really needing a NASCAR fix, you'll have to wait until New Year's Day. But again, check your local listings when it gets closer, and we'll let you know when it gets there. NASCAR set to air another Race Hub special on New Year's Day. This one will be a 2023 season preview. From New Year's Day, you'll have to wait until NASCAR Race Hub makes its regular return January the 30th of 2023. I'm looking forward to this show tomorrow, though. I think it'll be a cool thing.
Yeah. I think it's going to be interesting.
The preview show, we'll find out more as we get closer to it. But, I mean, heck, we could do our own preview show if we wanted to. It's not like we don't know how to do that.
Yep.
When it comes to rivalries, I mean, obviously we know about Earnhardt and Gordon. DW and Dale was one in the 1980s. Good grief, we could go. How deep could we go in the 1970s between Richard Petty, Bobby Allison, Cale Yarborough, Darrell Waltrip coming in? Bobby and Donnie Allison were there. Oh, gosh, who am I? I mean, I could go on for a long time. I don't even know as you could come up with one specific rivalry from the 1970s.
You really couldn't.
Because there are just so many of them.
Pearson and Petty.
That probably would be the most obvious one, but, I mean, that could be talked about in the 60s as well. It did continue into the 70s. I'm not trying to discount what happened.
This would be as much of a historian as I see him as. This would be something you could bring Russell Branham in to debate with.
Gosh, yes. No doubt about it.
Oh, we could have a huge, good, healthy debate.
Sure.
About who the best rivalry was in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah. But, you look at some of the drivers that were around back then, and initially, right off the bat, Cale Yarborough comes to mind because Cale Yarborough was the first guy to win 3 Cup titles in a row. And like I said, this is when Darrell Waltrip was starting to come in. Dale Earnhardt came in right at the very end of that decade and really started to make his way 1980. Obviously, we know about 1979's Daytona 500, the first ever live flag-to-flag coverage of a NASCAR race happened to be the Daytona 500. Well chosen by CBS. Not that they obviously had a line to Mother Nature or God, but yeah, the entire eastern seaboard socked in by a snowstorm. They had a captive audience on that day. And it really did launch the popularity of the sport. But I look at 1970, and I think about the 1970s, and I think about all those personalities that were there. Huge.
Yep.
It's going to be fun to watch that particular segment with DW, and I'm sure Richard Petty is going to have parts in that particular conversation. But DW and Rusty Wallace, both being obviously probably more 80s drivers. I mean, Darrell won his 3 titles in the 1980s. Rusty won his title in the 1980s. But both of them were square in and had their sights set on NASCAR in the 1970s. Mm-hmm. These guys know what they're talking about. They know this history of this sport, and this is going to be fun. That's going to be, to me, the most fun segment out of all of them.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to it.
Yep.
What are we at? We're close. All right. So I'm gonna wait because we got a lot of open wheel news to get to here. When it comes to 2022 and looking ahead to 2023, what's the one thing that you think you might be looking at of what we know now?
Overall or just in NASCAR?
Overall.
NASCAR?
We can deal with the other series later.
I would have to go with the part that I'm looking at overall is the continued development of this next-gen car and how the safety aspects improve versus this year.
Here's my question, and I'll stick with the car. Because what we saw this year was a record-tying 19 different winners in a year. Mm-hmm. And that's happened, 3 or 4 times in NASCAR's past, in the Cup Series past. Not just in the modern era, by the way. We go back before the modern era started in 1972. Are we still at that level where these teams have not quite gotten the perfect handle on it. In other words, when does the cream start to rise to the top? When do the Hendrick Motorsportses, the Joe Gibbs Racings, the Team Penske's, those guys that had such the handle on the previous car that almost nobody else could break in? I don't think we're going to get anywhere close to 19. I'm not sure we're going to get 16.
I'm not sure we're going to get 13 or 12.
I could go upwards of a dozen. 10 to 12, I think, is probably what we're going to get. Because, seriously, it won't take that long for these organizations, the top level 3 and 4 car organizations, the ones that we say are the powerhouses in the system. Joe Gibbs and Toyota, Rick Hendrick and Chevrolet. 1A and 1B are Penske and Stewart-Haas at Ford, and that's the sublet right there. Can Stewart-Haas Racing rebound now that it seems like they're refocusing in on themselves? And how soon do these teams start to manifest their dominance back in at the top level? That's the one thing that I'm going to be watching when it comes to next year. When we come back, we're going to switch to some open wheel news. You're listening to CRN.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. Fuel only, fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Hey, welcome back in. Hour number 2 underway. I'm Steve West along with Matt Nicholson, producer John Myers. We appreciate you joining us as we turn our attention to the NTT Data IndyCar Series, where IndyCar Series officials are working with Dallara. Dallara, by the way, the official chassis supplier of the series. They want a new attenuator. So what's an attenuator, you might ask? Go ahead. Ask it. I'll wait.
What's an attenuator?
Thank you, John. The attenuator in this case is the bodywork that is directly behind the engine, contributes to the aerodynamics of the car. But as it turns out, it's one of the few things on the car that really has not evolved over time. Well, that's about to change. IndyCar's director of aero development, Tino Belli, tells Racer.com, quote, "A few drivers complained of having headaches after backing the car into the wall on street courses. So steps taken on the old attenuator were to change the back face, which originally was solid and all molded in. We cut that back face to add in its ability to crush and therefore absorb energy." Belli then added, quote, "That's what's been successful in removing the street course headaches. But we've wanted to make it even more progressive. The plan is to introduce a new attenuator with the 2024 engine package. We brought it forward. Work will continue on this throughout the 2023 season using several different prototypes during select races to see what works best so that they'll be ready for 2024. Remember, new V6, larger, up from 2.2 to 2.4 liters, and it is twin turbo. So the attenuator, or this particular cover, needs to cover the entire engine and its new specs. So we'll have to see how this works. The good news about the new body parts and the planned introduction of the new engine for 2024 is that the supply chain issues that plagued not only IndyCar, but really most of the series in the United States this past season, we're seeing improvement. It's not solved, but we're seeing some improvement. And IndyCar officials say the parts should be much more readily available. The only W Series news we have is tucked into IndyCar Series news because, well, the only champion that the fledgling W Series has had in their 3 years of racing is the British-born Jamie Chadwick. But even if the W Series does indeed return for 2023, it's their plan. Don't expect Jamie Chadwick to be back for a four-peat. Instead, she is leaving that particular series, and she's coming to the United States. She's joining the Indy NXT series. That's the series formerly known as Indy Lights. There, she's going to be joining Andretti Autosport. It's not like she's coming in some no-name group. She's joining Andretti Autosport. She'll drive a number 28 car that'll be sponsored by a longtime Andretti IndyCar sponsor, DHL. 24-year-old Chadwick going to become the first full-time female racer in the series in over a dozen years. Even in this new full-time racing role, Chadwick, as she has been since 2019, first year of the W Series, she'll be a reserve driver for Williams Racing in Formula One, but despite her championship heritage, she's never been offered a ride in Formula 3, which is what the W Series basically runs, Formula 3 equivalent cars. She's never been offered a ride in Formula 2. So here she goes from W Series or Formula 3 over to the Indy NXT series, again, formerly Indy Lights. You kind of took a look. What's the comparison between these cars?
Funny you should ask that.
Isn't it?
Yep. The basics of what she will know the most. We're not going to use nothing with wheelbase, car width, stuff like that. Gearboxes.
Okay.
Indy Lights car, 6-speed sequential. Semi-automatic. Gearbox for a W Series car.
Which tells me clutchless.
6-speed paddle shift.
Okay.
Steering, rack and pinion. Manual rack and pinion.
Rack and pinion.
Rack and pinion for the W Series. Indy
Which
Lights,
power.
manual combined with a rack and pinion.
No power, which is the one thing that the Formula One drivers who have tested or driven Indy cars have said is the fact that the steering is a lot harder in IndyCar because they don't have power assist.
Bingo. Power output. W Series. 270 horsepower, or for our European contingent, 201 kilowatts.
Yes.
Indy Lights. Power output. 450 horsepower plus 50 horsepower on the push to pass.
There you go.
For our Europeans, 336 plus 37 kilowatts. Here's your two big ones.
Okay.
Car weight. W Series.
Which, again, remember, equivalent to Formula 3.
Car weight. 1,246 pounds.
Okay.
Indy Lights. 1,400.
Slightly heavier, but much more powerful.
Here's the big one, boys and girls. Engine displacement. Indy Light Series. Mazda AER P63 2.0 liter dual overhead cam inline 4 that puts out 122 cubic inches.
Small engine.
W Series. 1,750 cc, 107 cubic inch dual overhead cam inline 4.
Sounds like a motorcycle engine.
It does. In the general gist of it, she's not going to all that much of a different car
Not really.
than what she's absolutely wiped Europe off the face of the earth for.
Slightly more power, offset by slightly more, well, I say slightly more power. I mean, close to double. Slightly more weight to offset that. This is going to be a good challenge for her. Okay? She's dominated the W Series.
That I personally, within 2 years, I'm calling my shot.
Okay?
Within 2 years, you're looking at the first female Indy Lights champion.
Okay. You think she'll adjust to it that quick?
I know she'll adjust to it that quick. So, therefore, thank you, Jamie Chadwick, for just giving me a reason to go watch the Indy Lights race at Barber.
There you go. Yeah, because the truth of the matter is we haven't really had much of a reason. Sorry to the current drivers in Indy Lights, but we haven't.
And as a little short message to Devlin DeFrancesco, Kyle Kirkwood, and I'm even going to say Romain Grosjean and Colton Herta.
You're all on notice.
You're on notice.
They
You're
brought her
on
in.
Notice.
Andretti Autosport brought her in, did not assign her to an affiliate team in Indy Lights. I'm still calling it Indy Lights, NXT, whatever. They didn't assign her to an affiliate operation. They assigned her to their own side, gave her a primary number that we're very familiar with in IndyCar itself, and gave her a prime IndyCar sponsor.
DHL.
They are looking for big things out of one Jamie Chadwick. Chadwick, not the only driver attempting to work their way over from European Formula One feeder series or feeder series like to come to the United States to race in 2023. Marcus Armstrong, New Zealand native, grew up idolizing Scott Dixon. He's not going to Indy NXT. He's going straight to IndyCar, where he's going to be the fourth driver for Chip Ganassi Racing. He's only going to drive the road and street courses in their number 11. Now, this number 11 is essentially the one that Jimmy Johnson, the 48, had been driving the past 2 years. As for the oval races that Armstrong won't be driving, that'll be announced later. Depending on what Jimmy Johnson decides to do, we pretty much figure he's probably going to try the Indy 500 and may try the double.
I'm not even going to say probably. I know he's going to try it.
Okay. Does he keep the 11 or does he go back to that car, change back to the 48 when he does it? I bet you it changes back.
Probably will.
But in the times that Armstrong's going to be running the car, Chip Ganassi Racing has now 4 sequentially numbered cars. Marcus Ericsson, I should say, in the number 8, Scott Dixon in the 9, Alex Palou in the 10, and now the 11 with Marcus Armstrong. Armstrong's background had him in Formula 2. He'd moved all the way up through the feeder series up into Formula 2, but despite being a Ferrari development driver, he really hadn't been talked about as even getting a practice session for Formula 1. He's been in Formula 2 for 3 straight years. He also has roomed with former Formula 2 turned IndyCar driver Callum Elott and Christian Lundgaard, both of whom were rookies in IndyCar this past year. So I imagine he's heard more than an earful from Elott and Lundgaard about their experience in IndyCar, and now that's where he is. We keep hearing about this. There's that log jam up at the top there. There ain't no room for a youth movement at this point in time within Formula 1. We've seen about as much as we're going to see. A couple of drivers here and there, Oscar Piastri and Logan Sargent being it, basically.
Right.
I mean, even Mick Schumacher's out, and he's the heralded kid of the 7-time great one, Michael Schumacher, and he don't have a ride for 2023. Think about that. So we'll find out what happens here. Now let's go back to Alex Palou. We talked about him in the 10 car for Chip Ganassi Racing. Alex Palou is one of those guys who is considered alongside of Colton Herta as being very capable of sliding from IndyCar over to Formula One.
Yeah.
He's taken one more step in that direction. He has signed on officially with McLaren as a reserve driver when his IndyCar schedule allows him to be with Formula One. This is, by the way, also the latest connection between Palou and McLaren. You might remember he attempted to move over to McLaren in IndyCar competition, but all of that led to a court battle and then an agreement to stay with Chip Ganassi Racing for one more year. Of the 17 scheduled races that IndyCar has on the schedule, 11 of those clash with Formula One dates, so he'll only be able to be there for 6. But still, that's that latest connection that we were just talking about. This does appear to be the final year for Alex Palou. 2024, he's going to be running for Arrow McLaren SP in IndyCar, and he'll be a lot more closely associated with their Formula One operation at that point.
What you gonna do, Ganassi? Because if it was me, I would have my backup plan in place.
Oh, you better be making it now.
Because if you, I would have had it made yesterday.
Uh-huh. And he might have. I'll say this. He might have that backup plan in place, and he just hasn't said it.
That right there. Out of those 11 clash dates, say if you got Oscar Piastri, Orlando Norris, just to where they can't drive. You got to have a reserve driver.
Yeah.
And you're at Laguna Seca. F1's in, I don't know what day to clash with. Let's just say they're at Japan.
Might be about right.
How's that going to work?
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to watch this process.
Don't think you can put him on an A380 and just hop, skip, and jump over to Tokyo from San Francisco that quick.
And here's the thing. I mean, even though you might be, say, and we'll use Japan and the West Coast as the example, even if Ganassi or McLaren, for that matter, was willing to work that closely with each other and put him on a private jet, you got to cross 5,000 miles of Pacific Ocean. Sorry, you ain't going to do it by the time Formula One's race ends in Japan and the race in IndyCar starts in California.
Yeah, you start that little jump up. You go from San Francisco up around Anchorage, down around the corner of Russia, but you don't go into Russian airspace. Come down over Japan, come down that way.
Still not going to make it.
That. You still ain't going to make it.
Nope. Can't happen.
So you got to have reserve driver B on standby. Makes sense to have two. Don't make somebody that's in IndyCar that's one of the lead competitors that's a threat for the championship your backup reserve driver. Hey Chip, I gotta have Alex. Oscar is out due to sickness. Let's just word it that way because I'm not using that C word anymore. He's out due to sickness. I gotta have him. Okay, who's gonna drive my 10 car?
Mm-hmm.
Chip, send your jet to Anderson Regional. I'll load up and I'll go drive it for you.
There you go. Right here.
But this doesn't make, to me, it doesn't make any sense to make Alex the lead reserve driver for McLaren, and you're a World Traveling Series, and he's a lead top competitor in a North American Series.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
This is going to be an interesting year to watch the soap opera between Alex Palou and his now two masters of McLaren and Chip Ganassi.
Yeah.
You want to win a title? You got to concentrate on IndyCar. If you're looking ahead to the future, his allegiance will show that. And given an opportunity, he'll go to McLaren. And that'll leave Chip Ganassi it'll leave Chip hanging.
Uh-huh.
This is going to be fun to watch throughout the course of the 2023 season. And that might be my thing to watch for 2023, truth be told. To watch and see how this relationship goes through this year. Can they get along well enough to put the championship effort in for Alex Palou?
Agreed.
And if they start off the year badly and put him in a big hole, Alex Palou's got one foot out the door already. He might be putting that second foot out the door.
As crazy as that was at the end of last year, he's right. He's got the 1 foot out the door, and I'm going to say he's got half of the second foot on the threshold.
Mm-hmm. Ain't going to take much.
Oh,
if
no.
they have
Not at
a
all.
bad start to this year, and it's a hole that Alex Palou feels like they're not going to be able to get out of, he's gone.
Yeah.
And Chip Ganassi's left in the lurch. Because even if he's there, he's not there. He might be there physically, but mentally, he's over with McLaren already. Only physically. On race day, when it comes time to get in the car and start the race and finish the race, that's basically all Alex is going to be there for. If he feels like he doesn't have a chance at winning a race and winning a title, he's all but gone. Mentally, he will be out, and for the most part, physically, he'll basically only be there for the races.
True.
And that's just going to dig them into a deeper hole. We'll find out how this goes.
Yep.
One more note in IndyCar before we take a break, and that's Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. They need a new team president. Oof. Piers Phillips, who's been with them in that role since 2018, is now left the team effective immediately. Racer.com reports that Phillips, who served as the Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports GM before moving to Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing, announced his resignation officially on Friday. Neither the team nor Phillips is commenting further on the change. In his time with Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing, they won 2 races with Takuma Sato in 2019. They won the 2020 Indy 500 with that same driver. While with the team, he also led the BMW IMSA factory effort and Jaguar's I-PACE trophy attempt. Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing has not indicated who will replace Phillips, and Phillips has not said where he's going to go. Let's make that perfectly clear. He has not said where it is he's set to go yet.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, his time with BMW and their IMSA factory effort, maybe he appreciated that more. I don't know. Time is going to tell where this lands and what is Rahal Letterman Lanigan going to do, because this is a team that has made so much noise about wanting to become a 3-car operation. And for all intents and purposes, that's what they're going to become this year. They got the 2 full-time cars, and then they're running a part-time car with Takuma Sato.
Mm-hmm.
So they're a 2.5-car operation right now. And now your team president leaves? Now your team president leaves?
Yep.
This is not what Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing really would like. This is not an ideal situation for them.
Nope. Not at all.
Who are they going to get at this point in time? I mean, is there some, for them, I'll say this. For them, I'm hoping that they feel like that there's somebody within their own organization who's going to be able to step up and take over that role.
I do know where the shop is in Brownsburg.
Not that you're angling for that job necessarily.
Just saying.
Well, John, let's go ahead and see if we can't go ahead and run a break here. And when we come back, we're going to make the transition. We're going to shift from IndyCar over to our fine friends over at Formula One. Rumors around Ferrari. Talked about it a little bit last week. Ferrari and Mattia Binotto were both denying that he was going to be out, so we'll talk about that. Saudi Arabia talking about their track. They want to make some changes. Australia making some changes for the better as well. Maybe we're finally past that C word that Matt doesn't want to talk about. We'll talk about it when we come back right here on CRN.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back. 2 tires only, and back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Hey, welcome back into the show. Portions of this show being brought to you by our fine friends over at Ox Foundation Solutions and Michael Hart. He's the guy you need to call if you're anywhere in the state of Alabama and you have an inkling of an idea that you have a foundation problem. He's the man you need to call. 205-362-6419 or Mike at oxfoundations.com. You could email him and get in touch with him. And again, anywhere in the state of Alabama, he will come out and he will go through at no cost and at no obligation to you, give you a foundation assessment, and it'll be written down for you, so you'll be ready to go. You think about what happened in this past week here in just Alabama alone. In the southeast, we had a severe line of storms that moved through, spun off some tornadoes. That obviously will mess up a foundation of a house. But even if you weren't hit by that, the amount of rain, at my house, we registered almost 4 inches of rain in about a less than 24-hour period.
He gave us we had about probably 3 up here.
That messes with the foundation as well, especially after the long period of time that we had without really having a significant rainfall. All of that accounts into what's going on with your foundation. So look at your house. Pay attention to your house. Having trouble opening up or shutting a door or a window? Put a ball on the floor. Your dog will love it. Put a ball on the floor. Does it roll away all by itself? You got a problem. Is it the foundation? Don't know. Maybe. Have Michael Hurt check it out. Set up the appointment. 205-362-6419 or Mike at oxfoundations.com. If you got a problem, he comes in and he sits down and he starts explaining his write-up and what the estimate is. Tell him you heard about it right here on CRN. Mention the promo code WEST, W-E-S-T. You get 15% off of that total that he just quoted. Ox Foundation Solutions. Make your house Ox strong. You're going to want it to stick around for a while. I'm Steve West. That's Matt Nicholson. Producer John Myers here. We're talking now Formula One, where a couple of weeks ago, rumor began to spread Mattia Binotto would be out as the team principal at Ferrari, roundly denied by those in the hallways at Maranello, Italy. Well, 2 weeks later, here's Binotto's resignation. Ferrari came into 2022 as kind of the betting favorite to return to the top of the Formula One heap. And they did. They started off the season hot. But then things cooled off, and Ferrari finished a distant second to Red Bull in the Constructors' Cup and well behind Max Verstappen and Red Bull in the final driver standings, although Charles Leclerc did finish second, and they finished second in the Constructors' Cup standings. Again, well behind in both of those. We talked about a hot start to the season. They broke out by winning 2 of the first 3 races, but then they only won 3 more times throughout the remainder of the year as Max Verstappen goes on and wins 15 times by himself.
Oof.
Yeah. The team said that they endured strategic indecision, and then their reliability, well, it became less than reliable. Let's just put it that way. And suddenly all the people in the hallways in Maranello began to wonder if the team needed a change. They're going to get one. Binotto's last day with the organization, officially New Year's Eve. Ferrari says they hope to name his replacement shortly thereafter, and the name that keeps popping up is the guy that is currently the team principal at Alfa Romeo, Sauber, Fred Vasseur, pick your choose, whether you're American or French. No one's commenting on that at this time, but it does seem to be that name that just keeps popping up.
I'm going to borrow a line from the comedian Jeff Dunham and one of his dolls. Peanut. When Peanut wants to ask a question.
Sure.
Excuse me. How do you pin reliability issues on the team principal?
I wish I could tell you. This is kind of one of those situations, though, where if the general manager goes out and he drafts a quarterback and that quarterback turns into Jamarcus Russell or Ryan Leaf, who gets fired? It ain't the quarterback that you drafted and became a dud. You're going to give him 2 or 3 more years. What you're going to do is you're going to fire a coach. Could be the head coach. Could be the offensive coordinator, could be the quarterback's coach. But you're going to blame one of the coaches. That's how that happens.
Yeah. But for the reliability of parts going into the engine, the reliability of suspension, the reliability of
The gearbox.
The gearbox, the cooling system, the APU unit. No, we're not talking about an airplane here, Matt.
No.
power units, how can you blame that on Bob Pockrass's twin brother? You can't.
They do look a lot alike. Look up a picture of Mattia Binotto and Bob Pockrass. Yeah, they look a lot alike.
You can't pin a reliability problem on the team principal. All he does is just deal with the logistics of the day-to-day operations and race day operations.
Yeah. Tells me that there's somebody in the departments that deal with all that stuff, the tech departments. That's your problem. But
and I'm not so sure that Fred Vasseur is going to be any better.
I'm not sure he's going to come in and fix it, because what it tells me is you've got a systemic problem with some of the workers that are in there that are not quite doing their job in quality control. And you think about this. I mean, Binotto has been a Ferrari guy really since the beginning of his career. He's been with Ferrari since 1995, worked his way up through the ranks to become the team boss in 2019. He released a statement that reads as if this was not his choice. In other words, this was a forced resignation, or we are going to fire you. He wrote this, quote, "With the regret that this entails, I have decided to conclude my collaboration with Ferrari." Continuing, quote, "I am leaving the company that I love, that I've been a part of for 28 years. With the serenity that comes from the conviction that I have made every effort to achieve the objective set, I leave a united and growing team, a strong team, ready, I'm sure, to achieve the highest goals, to which I wish all the best for the future. I think it is the right time to take this step at this time. As hard as this decision has been for me, I would like to thank all the people who have shared in this journey with me and made up all the difficulties, but also of great satisfaction." I'm sorry, folks. This reads to me like you resign or we're throwing you out.
Correct. But, as I said, it's not right on his part, because you can't pin some of those issues. You can't pin reliability issues. Strategic indecision, yeah, you can put a little bit on there.
Sure.
That one, yeah.
Yeah, you can pin that on him.
You can't do the reliability issues. But I don't think you're going to get much better with Fred Vasseur. One. Two, this is a last-ditch Hail Mary throw of everybody trying to catch up to Red Bull.
Absolutely. Now, I will say this. There's still that connection between Haas F1 and Ferrari. That doesn't appear to be ending anytime soon. We do know that Alfa Romeo, they're in their final year as the title sponsor over at Sauber, and then we're going to be 2 years of being Sauber alone before Audi comes in as officially the co-owner and therefore title name.
Mm-hmm.
So Fred Vasseur might want to stick with Ferrari, which would make sense.
I would stick with Alfa Romeo.
I get that, but he might want to stick. And if that's his choice, that's his choice.
True.
Okay? Me, on the other hand, let's go back to that other team that's affiliated with Ferrari, that Haas F1 organization that I just mentioned. No, he's not going to come in as the team principal. That's Gunther Steiner. But if I'm Gene Haas, I'm calling up Mattia Binotto and I'm going, hey, listen, you've been inside there. You know what's right. You know what's wrong. You can tell us what's right and what's wrong. When we get in all those Ferrari engines and all those Ferrari technical bits that we're allowed to get under F1 and FIA rules,
ding,
you're going to be able to tell us what we got going.
Ding.
Again, we're giving this information out for free, but at the same point in time, we're available for consultancy.
Survey says, get him in there.
Saudi Arabian officials at the Grand Prix are stating that they are making some changes to the Jeddah Corniche circuit, going to be ready in time for their Formula One race. They've consulted with Formula One and the FIA. The changes are aimed at bettering the sight lines for the drivers in specific areas with the help of noted track design company Tilke, founded by Herman Tilke. Also, something to be done, they're going to smooth out some of the curbing to keep the cars from shaking out of control either off the track or back into traffic. The curbs in question, they're being removed in turns 3, 14, 19, 20, and 21 to be replaced by painted curbing. It's going to feel kind of like an interstate rumble strip.
Uh-huh.
The curbs in turns 4, 8, 10, 11, 17, and 23, which were made of steel, are being replaced by beveled edge curbing made of concrete.
Huh.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
All I can do is report what I end up coming up across, folks. Turns 14 and 20, they're also being widened to help with visibility. width of the actual racing surface in these corners not changing. They're only moving the walls out to give, again, better sight lines for the drivers. The funny thing is, it's all being countered by adding one of those beveled curbs and then adjusting the walls in turns 22 and 23 with hopes of slowing the cars down about 30 miles per hour or so. They also state that other items such as infield restaurants are closer to being completed as well. Saudi Arabia, by the way, this is all going to have to be done by March the 19th. Saudi Arabia stopped 2 of the schedule for 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Then shortly after, they go to Australia after returning to racing. Got a 1-year sickness-induced break due to Australian rules and regulations. The people showed up in droves. They drew a record number of people over the 4 days of on-track action, totaled just under 420,000 people, bested their prior record of 401,000. Oh, by the way, that was set back in 1996. That was the first year that they went to Melbourne. So, officials with the Australian Grand Prix announced an increase in grandstand capacity. There are 16 grandstands around the Albert Park Circle that are currently capable of hosting 39,000 people. That number goes up to 44,000. Then you got some standing-only areas or some general admission areas that people can gather into. And with Formula 2 and Formula 3 now joining the racing card this year, a new record might be set when the weekend begins, March the 30th, and Formula 1 races on April the 2nd. Hey, 420,000 people. That's second only to the close to 450,000 people that they say went to Austin, Texas for COTA.
Not bad.
Not bad at all.
Not bad.
All right, I got to mention this freaking thing. Stupid COVID. Still wreaking havoc on the racing world, mostly in Formula 1, the world traveling series that they are. We ran down their planned 24-race schedule some weeks back. April 16th slot was planned to finally go back and return to the Chinese Grand Prix. But as Lee Corso is so well known for saying on College Games Day,
not so fast,
my friend. Formula 1 officials stated on Friday, Chinese Grand Prix is canceled. Again, China retains this moronic zero COVID policy, but again, it's this China who has their thumb on the heads of every single one of their billion-plus people that are in there, which has also led to numerous protests around the country from their own population due to the policy. Well, either way, I'm not going to worry about them. They got their own political problems, and, well, they'll probably fall apart any day now. It's communism. So 24 races. Could that still be that way when we get into 2023? I would say probably so, because with Formula 1 making this decision in early December, it gives them plenty of time to find that replacement race to fill that vacant spot. And we've got several candidates. Turkey's still there. Portugal's there. Oh, let's see. Italy probably would be willing to host a third race. Germany might be wanting to come back on. Oh, I don't know. New York City's made noise about becoming a Formula 1 stop, but probably way too much to do there before that could happen. Yeah, we got plenty of opportunities and plenty of time to figure out where this is going to happen.
May I recommend a location behind the Bass Pro Shops off exit 140 on Interstate 20, located in Leeds, Alabama?
Sure. April the 16th. Why not? 3 trips to North America? I'm in.
Ooh.
Barber Motorsports Park with IndyCar, then Formula 1, and then NASCAR? Ooh.
F1, NASCAR, then Barber.
Well, that's true, too.
Indy.
Yeah, I forgot. They go to the end of the month, don't they?
Sign me up for the PR director at Barber.
I could do. I'd be willing to do that. That'd be fun.
Boy.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, it would.
Let's see. Formula 1 officials say they hope to make a decision about April 16th within the next few weeks. Many feel it will be 2023 on the calendar before something is announced, but there's some feeling that an announcement might actually happen before Christmas, so we might be able to unwrap it by then. This continues plans for racing in China to continue to fall through. The last time we were there was 2019. 2020 was amongst the first events in the world to be canceled when COVID began spreading in China. Did I say that? Yes, I did. Thank you very little. Hey, Netflix has that series that we've talked about how many times? Formula 1 Drive to Survive. They're about to get their 5th season. Should be released just before the 2023 season begins for Formula 1. But probably before that, Haas F1's popular team boss Gunther Steiner prepared to answer back. He's got a book that he is entitled Surviving to Drive. Now, we don't know the exact release date yet, but Steiner has become quite the personality in and around Formula One, due in part to the Netflix series for his outspoken, no-holds-barred style of being interviewed. He promises to take the reader fully behind the scenes in the Haas F1 2022 season, written out in diary form. According to the press release about the book, which came out on Thursday, quote, "It'll be uncompromising and searingly honest." We would expect nothing less from Gunther Steiner would. There's a lot to tell. You got the soap opera surrounding 2021 rookie Dmitry Mazepin and the sponsorship with the Russian company Ural-Kali, and, of course, the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Got the return of Kevin Magnussen, scoring points, seeing their other 2021 rookie, Mick Schumacher, at his lowest. 2 very expensive crashes. I mean, splitting the car in half, let's face it. And then at his highest so far, scoring his first career Formula One points. And then the talk of who was going to be in Schumacher's seat in 2023, Schumacher or another driver, as it turned out, Nico Hülkenberg. Steiner said, quote, "I don't think I could have picked a more active year than this one in terms of documenting some of the many things a team principal has to go through in Formula One. I've never looked at keeping a diary before, and while I like to look forward, it's been fun to look back over this year. In proofing this book again and reflecting on the many highs and lows we've encountered at Haas F1 team, I hope people enjoy the insight into our 2022 season, and hopefully they'll come along for the ride in 2023 when we look to build on this year's successes. We'll find out. 2023 is right around the corner." You're listening to CRN.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. Go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Yeah, we are. Final segment of today's show. We're about to be joined by a special guest, but real quick, I want to deal with a couple of more bits of news from Formula One. Over at Williams, kind of as is the style in Formula One, drivers choose the number they're going to race with for their entire career, if said number is available. Number becomes available if a driver who used it previously has not used it for the prior 2 seasons. That left their new for 2023 driver at Williams, Logan Sargent, to go with the number 2. It was last used by Stoffel Van Dorn in the 2017 and 2018 seasons. The funny thing is that Sargent actually used the number 45 in practice sessions with Williams late in 2022 season, used the number 6 in Formula 2 racing. So where in the world did the number 2 come from? Well, Sargent said, quote, "I used to run number 2 in Formula Renault. I had a pretty good season that year. Number 3 is generally my number, but that's been taken by Daniel Ricciardo. So I figured, why not take a winning number from the past and run with that in Formula One?" Your number is
Right.
10.
Right.
If you had to go with another number because 10 was unavailable, what's your second option?
12.
Why?
12 has a significance of a date,
Okay.
of a birth date for someone.
Yeah.
I would go with 12.
I got you. Okay.
Because I retired. I used to be 4. Then I went to 10 because 10 was signified a lot of good things happened in October for us and myself. But if I had to go pick a third number, we'll go 12.
Gotcha. And one more note, despite being the German-owned team that they are, the Mercedes Formula One headquarters is actually based, along with 6 other Formula One teams in England, specifically the town of Brackley, about 70 miles north of London. They want to honor their 3-time Formula One champion turned former team non-executive chairman. They got the permission of the family and the city of Brackley to rename the road leading off of the main drive into their race headquarters. It is now informally Lauda Drive, officially Niki Lauda Drive. They unveiled the sign this past week. Really, really cool stuff. And I would say about time, just to be real honest, because this is a guy who deserves pretty much every honor he could ever get. All right, we teased it, and we talked even a little bit about it last week. Special guest, we do believe, on the phone, live from Five Flags Speedway in Pensacola, Florida. What in the world is going on at Five Flags Speedway in Pensacola, Florida? Oh, that's right. It's Snowball Derby weekend. Chi-Town Mark, hello.
Hi, Steve, Matt, John.
Hello,
it's
sir.
Great down here. It is just, we had a really intense qualifying effort last night. Matt Craig sat on the pole for 3/4 of qualifying, and he went out early, only to have 3 cars in a row come boom, 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 and knock him off. And Josh Berry ended up coming away with the pole. Junior Motorsports had quite the last couple of weeks with winning that big late model stock race last week, and then coming down here and sitting on the pole for the Derby.
Now, is that car, Mark? I saw a photo of it. It's a Rackley War car, but are the Junior Motorsports guys working on it?
Yeah, it's a Fury chassis.
Gotcha. Okay.
Fury chassis. I can't remember what the engine package is. Matt, have you been here for qualifying?
I have.
Friday night?
I've actually been to Derby qualifying 3 times.
There's nothing like it, is there?
Oh, it's for lack of a better term, it's insane. It is insane.
You can cut the intense. It's so tense. You can cut it with a knife, Steve.
Absolutely.
Oh, I imagine.
It's the best qualifying session there probably is in racing right now.
I can't disagree with that.
Okay, and I'll leave it up to both of you. How would this separate out from what we're so used to seeing at, say, a Talladega or an Atlanta? What we're used to seeing in the Cup Series, for example. How does it differ?
The cars are so different, aren't they, Matt? You're using the suspensions on these super late models probably closer to what a sprint car is, I would say,
Yeah.
than
Yep.
what the Cup cars are, and that includes the old Cup cars.
Sure. I would agree with that. And plus, the cars are being somewhat considerably lighter than what we're used to see with Cup, Xfinity trucks, even trucks. The intensity of it, because to me, it's like what I call rapid fire. When the last car's taking the checker coming off of 2, others taking the green. It's rapid fire.
Yeah.
And it's nonstop. And I was looking earlier, from 1st to 43rd is less than a half a second.
Very tight field.
1st to 43rd.
Yeah.
Less than a
We had
half
race
second.
monitor on. We had race monitor on, and we were just in awe at how close qualifying went last night. So
Well,
Absolutely.
It's my favorite weekend of the year, period.
Yeah.
Yep.
And here's the thing. I mean, that's not the only thing that's going on down there. I mean, Snowball Derby, obviously, this is one of the more prestigious late model races in the country. I mean, you got people from all over the country. You got Cup Series drivers, Xfinity Series drivers, Truck Series drivers that are involved in this. This is one of those things that grabs drivers from all around the country and from high levels of racing all to converge on one area, in this case, Pensacola, Florida. But it's not the only thing going on this weekend. What else is going on down there this weekend?
Well, this evening we'll have the prolate miles. We're running the Snowflake 100. And then the Outlaw Rate miles, I think, are running a 50-lap race after that. Last night we had a 75-lap modified of Mayhem event that we snuck out on a little early, I'll hate to say, but that was right after qualifying. And then they had 3 divisions run on Thursday night after practice. So, yeah, for 4 straight nights, there's practice, there's something on the track, there's racing itself, camaraderie. The campers are here. Steve, Matt, John, it's probably much like what a Cup race was maybe 30 years ago.
Oh, sure.
I would agree. I would agree.
I mean, we've had the chance to be down there a couple of times for this race, and yeah, you can't. It's hard to find a parking place, number one, which is great because that means there are a lot of people that are showing up there, and the number of RVs and campers that are brought in, and it's just such a fun, festive atmosphere for such a great race where you get a lot of the guys, and we talk about the Cup, Xfinity, and Truck Series guys who are all there. They're obviously the headliners, but let's not overlook some of the guys who they're regulars in and around South Alabama, the Panhandle of Florida, or heck, Georgia, Alabama, or Mississippi as a whole. They come flocking down there because this is a great opportunity for them to run at a fantastic facility, number one, and number two, this brings up their profile because there are a lot of eyeballs that are looking at this race that is going to come up tomorrow.
There are, I wouldn't exactly call eyes in the skies, guys, but there are NASCAR Cup Xfinity Truck Series guys here. I think I saw Billy Venturini the other day checking things out for Venturini Motorsports. So this is a big draw for them to see who's hot, who's not, who can do it, who can't, because you can do it here. Look what happened to Eric Jones after he passed Kyle Busch a few years ago, won the race, and next year he's running the truck for him.
Yep, I was about to mention Eric Jones is probably one of the most notable ones. He was able to go do that, and it brought the attention of Kyle Busch, and he worked his way up through the field, and now he's running in the Cup Series. I mean, it's obviously the ultimate dream, and it's not going to happen to everybody. But, yeah, if you can do well at the Snowball Derby, you got some eyes on you. There's no doubt.
For sure.
Well, Chandler Smith, Kitchenekis, Noah Gregson, all are winners of the Derby. Where are they now, guys? So it's gotten bigger in that aspect, I think, than ever before. And the amount of money with the teams down here, the haulers are a little bigger, it seems, and a little more equipped, guys.
Yeah, I bet they are. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the lineup and those NASCAR drivers. Who, and I think, Matt, you might have the list up here. Who are some of the drivers, and I'll start with you, Matt, and then we'll go to Chi-Town Mark. Who are some of the drivers that are not the big names that you might be looking at?
Me, if I had to pick, I would say if you would look at maybe say a dark horse.
Okay.
Let's label it as a dark horse. I would say, the name that Mark said first, Matt Craig.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's well. Go ahead. Another one.
I'm sorry. No, he has won big races. That's all.
Oh, he
Sorry
has.
to interrupt.
Okay. No, you're good. Another one. I mean, maybe the likes of maybe Ryan Luza. Even though that.
It's a name apparently that struck a nerve with you, huh, Mark?
Well, I'm not real familiar with him, so for Matt to pull out that name was a little bit of a surprise for me, but he has. I think he's opened some eyes. My friend and I that are here together, they've noticed him all week since we've been here.
Yeah.
So,
But the name, a name that is out there that's making one of his, I think, his first attempt at the Derby, and he's in. If you got to put those big asterisk or a star beside his name, is a name from up there in Mark's backyard, Luke Fenhouse.
Oh, okay. What do you know about Luke there, Mark?
Well, I watched Luke and Ty Majeski battle each other at the Slinger Nationals this year, and Ty Majeski literally kept bouncing Fenhouse off the backstretch wall, and he still pulled off the win. So there's a big contingent of Wisconsin drivers down here and Minnesota drivers. William Salwich, he's kind of come out of nowhere this year, and it's opened a few eyes. He's out of Minnesota. I don't know if you're familiar with him, guys.
I am, yeah. I know who you're talking about.
But I think if I had to call a winner this year, and he's overdue, I like Derek Thorne. Derek Thorne is one of the smoothest, most consistent drivers I've seen in years.
Well, and you've been down there, so you've seen him turn some laps. He seems to be comfortable in that car at that track.
He does. He's comfortable at Nashville. He's run well there. Winchester. He makes the trip. He makes his trips to California worth it, and he sticks around for a little bit and does those late fall events, and then comes on down here. I think this might be his year, though.
He has been close many, many times. I do agree.
Well, he didn't win the pole. He just missed it this year, so maybe that's the sign. But before I forget, especially for you, Steve, as we drove down through Birmingham to come to the races here, saw a couple of Ox Foundation signs. So I just wanted to mention that really quick, and we thought of Mike and you guys when I saw them.
Well, we appreciate that. We appreciate that. That means that we're doing our job right. That's the important part. Okay, so kind of run down the schedule here for us real quick, as we got just a couple of minutes left in the show. What's going on today, and then what's the schedule for tomorrow?
Today we've got practices on and off until early this afternoon. We will have qualifying for the Snowflake at that point. After qualifying, they line the cars up, and they have a last chance races, 250-lap last chance races, one for the Derby, one for the Snowflake. And they're pretty intense races. They're so many cars, it's like a normal Saturday night race at your home track. So it should be very exciting. And then the Snowflake this evening, and the Outlaw 8 miles after them. Neat series, really nice series. I enjoy them immensely. Is these Outlaw 8 miles with the body styles. It's just something different. They're cool looking. Tomorrow, 1 o'clock, shortly thereafter, Snowball Derby, the 55th annual.
And that's Central Time, 1 o'clock Central.
1 o'clock Central. Thank you, Steve. I got to keep remembering to do the Eastern and Central Time like that.
Well, you never know where we got our listeners/viewers on CRN Live. So, yeah, we want to make sure.
Got the guys listening from the Chicago area every week. And
that's true.
Good deal.
So.
Yeah. I mean, you're in the proper time zone. I mean, the Central Time Zone is God's time zone, so we don't have a problem with that. But, just for those people who are trying to make the transition, we'll help you out. It's 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 p.m. Central Time. All right. Well, you have a fantastic time down there. It's unfortunately, it's not going to be the kind of year for either of us, Matt or myself, to be able to make it down. But we certainly want to get back down in that area. And on that note, I will say this. Do all of us a favor, from producer John to Matt and myself. Make your way down to McGuire's and have a good steak on with us, okay?
Oh, sounds like a bet. We'll put our dollar bill up on the...
All right. Appreciate you. Have a great time. Chi-Town Mark.
Thanks so much, Steve.
We appreciate it. And we hope to talk to you again here before too long.
I'll set you up. Let me know if you want to reset for what I went on this weekend. So
right,
sounds
brother.
great. We appreciate you. Chi-Town Mark down at Five Flag Speedway in Pensacola, Florida. Snowball Derby weekend down there. Got Ice Bowl coming up. We'll be talking about that. Talladega Short Track here before too much longer as well. We've said a whole lot of news going on during the off season, so we're going to continue to go on during the season. Y'all, we appreciate you joining us, and we'll talk to you again next week. You're listening to the Championship Racing Network.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.